Hi. So here we go. The last portion or the last part of discussing World War II. So in the previous video, we talk about Hitler's demise. So the end of his reign in the European region. So after the death of his ally Benito Mussolini, um, on April 30, 1945, Hitler committed suicide. So, based on some accounts, they believe that he poisoned himself, and so is his wife, Ava Braun. They died, and somehow the bunker was under this attack, and it somehow had a fire in there, and their dead bodies were somehow burnt in there. That's why when the Allied force arrived, the bodies are difficult to identify. But still, the Allied force claimed victory in that portion of Europe. And they believe that they are successfully defeated the group of Hitler, and so is Hitler on that said Berlin bunker. So this is an image of Hitler, who is commonly called the Führer during his reign, and Benito Mussolini, also commonly called as El Duce during his reign. So when Germany was defeated, it is a very remarkable day in world history. So the Allied force claimed it as VE Day when May 7, 1945, they officially ended the war in Europe. So that's why VE Day stands for Victory in Europe Day. However, World War II is still not done after Germany surrendered, because they still have one enemy, and that enemy is in Asia, and the next target of the Allied force is Japan. So in the Potsdam Agreement or Potsdam Conference, so Potsdam is located in Germany. So the attendees of that conference are Truman, Harry S. Truman, the new president of USA, because Roosevelt died, but based on natural causes. So he's already been sick for too long. So it was Harry S. Truman who became the next president of USA. And so Truman, and then Winston Churchill of Britain, and Joseph Stalin of Russia decided to divide Germany into four zones. So they did then again what they did in World War One. So they partitioned the losing team, Germany, according to their sphere of influence. So once it is divided into four, those three nations who are very somehow big contributors in the victory in Europe, so they somehow take Germany on their own, so their own control. So also in the Potsdam Agreement, Truman, Churchill, and Stalin discuss whether how they will end Japan. So they know that it is an easy win somehow, or it's attainable win rather. It's gonna be an attainable win, but it's the manner of ending it is what they actually discuss, because also during this time USA is very advanced in science, wherein they're actually able to crack the formula of how to split an atom and creating a very explosive radioactive type of shocking event, or like a momentous um, bombing moment that they're actually able to discover. And USA is like thinking of using that in somehow finishing off Japan's desire to control most of Asia. So yeah, so it was actually the one that they talk about, if they will use the atomic bomb or not. So, yan. On the other hand, in Asia, fighting continues. So, Japan is still fighting in Asia and trying to regain or somehow claim many lands as they can. So the Allied called for Japan to surrender. So actually, they still give Japan their benefit of the doubt that if they want to surrender, they can surrender, because they're also threatened Japan that if they will not, they will be meet with a force, with a strong force, which is the atomic bomb. So due to internal turmoil, now this is actually the greatest concern. Some people said there's no need for such harsh action of USA of using the atomic bomb because it's really inhumane. The lasting effect of atomic bomb to the people of Japan really is very not not acceptable as a human, because the radiation, the lasting effect, it's just really not human what they did. So a lot of arguments are like saying they should have talked somehow more, or somehow they discuss it further, rather than doing it by impulse. So even though they put up a note asking Japan to surrender, some people believe Japan would have surrendered if only their government is structured. Because during that time, so many things happening, their government is not functioning well. So the ones that are designed to decide are not actually able to decide properly, and others wanting to surrender, others wanting to fight. So they're like still in chaos, and somehow USA did not wait, or the allied force did not wait for Japan to make up their mind, so they decided to bomb them. Now I watched a documentary about the creation and the execution of the atomic bomb, and according to that documentary, the allied force really study all the city population of Japan. So they actually have list of city that they will bomb, and then they have criteria that it should have a average amount of population, not so many to the point that many people will die, but not so few to the point that it will be somehow not that very impactful. So they choose like an average amount of people in a certain city, and somehow they make sure that that certain city has this qualification that once the bomb was dropped in there, like it will not spread so much, so things like that. They consider those things, but still it's an atomic bomb. But we cannot also blame USA, because it's the first time that an atomic bomb will be used in the face of the earth. So I feel like they have no idea about the power that it could actually do once executed. Though they have testing facility in USA, especially in Texas, because before they launched this fully during the atomic bombing of Japan, they had it tested, but not in a massive ton that they use in Japan. So here are the important dates that you remember. So the first bomb was actually dropped on August 6, 1945. So they dropped it in Hiroshima, and they dropped the little boy. So actually I have a picture of those yan atomic bombs. So those two atomic bombs were created, and this one is called the little boy. This was dropped in Hiroshima, and it has a fusion uranium of 235, and it weighs 4,400 kilogram. Okay, and it has 15 tons of TNT. Okay, so that's the little boy, and this is the fat man that was actually dropped to Nagasaki, and it has a bigger fusion plutonium of 239, while it weighs also bigger, of 4,535 kilograms. And in terms of the power that it actually resulted into, it has 21,000 tons of TNT. Okay. So the little boy was actually dropped in Hiroshima, and then 3 days later, they're still waiting for Japan to surrender, but Japan is not surrendering, all because there's no proper government execution. For sure, many people would want to surrender, but they do not have the access to express what they wanted to somehow be done. That's why after 3 days, August 9, another bomb was actually dropped in Nagasaki, and that is the Batman. For a while, okay. So yeah, August 9, 1945, the Fat Man, or the bigger atomic bomb, was actually dropped to Nagasaki. So the building of the atomic bomb is also known as the Manhattan Project. Okay, and this project was actually supervised by many scientists that were actually previously working in Germany, but they were actually hired or somehow contracted by the USA to make this bomb on behalf of the USA. So it is actually some scientists in Germany who discovered how to split an atom, and they work for USA. So to somehow um, their crimes will be forgiven if they will help USA. So the Enola Gay is the name of the airplane that carried those bomb, and it was piloted by Paul Tibbets. And so I actually only the Nagasaki bomb, the Fat Man. So it's the Enola Gay plane piloted by Paul Tibbets who carried out the Fat Man bomb. So that is August 9. And then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 5 days after the Fat Man was actually released, that's the time Japan officially surrendered. And it was officially been signed September 2, 1945. So what happened is like MacArthur went to Japan, boarding in the battleship that USA have, and then they invited those Japanese representative, and they were boarded on that battleship, and then live on camera, he signed that Japanese representative signed the ending of World War II. So as you notice, August 14 they surrender, but it took so many days before the final official paper be signed. As you notice also, the dates is also very important. Later, I'll show you the comparison of the beginning and the end of World War II. Okay, but that date is remarkable. That's why I believe it was assigned on that day, that Japan surrender on September 2, 1945. Yan. So we'll get back to that dates later. But let us explore further the effects of the Fat Man and the Little Boy bombs, atomic bombs. So the Fat Man, or the Fat Boy, was actually I mean the Fat Man, sorry, the Fat Man was actually released to Nagasaki, and then the Little Boy was released to Hiroshima in this portion of Japan. And they said that the impact of that atomic bomb was so massive, so loud, so bright, that it's like as if the sun hit the earth with such impact. Okay, so it actually created a mushroom effect because of its so much power. So this is like the black and white version, but to give you further an idea that even those clouds and those somehow the mushroom effect of it are still very hot. And I mean, when it exploded, everything in there is just really burning. Okay, it's a burning power. And of course, the sound barrier that it created, it's just really a massive atrocity. And here are some images of that, but these are actually lighter image. There are a lot of really heartbreaking images of the atomic bomb. I just choose this image so that it will not be so much of violent images that you will see. But there are a lot. There are even situations wherein the impact and the heat is so massive that dead bodies tend to be actually melted on each other. That's how hot and how the radiation works on those people. And others who are really in the close vicinity of the bomb when it dropped, they I know they went into ash, or like they burned severely, that no bodies were found. And then on the other areas, farther and farther to the radius, they get really lasting effect on their body. Some of them are like deformed, and others actually had genetic diseases that they were able to pass it through their children because it's radiation, eh. So their genetics were actually been altered, and some diseases were actually passed down to their children. And even up until now, they said that the radiation in Hiroshima and Nagasaki is very, very strong still, that there's a possibility of you building up cancer when you live in those areas, higher cancer probability when you live in those areas. So this is what I'm telling you about the harshness of the usage of atomic bomb. And now, since that was used in World War II, we are living in the generation now wherein there are so many countries who knows the code already, who knows the formula and how to make the atomic bomb. That's why the powerful nations are equipped already of atomic bomb and equipment. Na if there would be a war, every country or most of the powerful countries have their own nuclear weapon. So just imagine the world if everyone would be in nuclear warfare. And I would just like to share something. If you have seen this Studio Ghibli movie, The Grave of the Fireflies, well, actually, it's in relation with the bombing in Japan. Though personally, I really want to finish it, but I'm only in the early portion of it, when about their mother. So only in that portion. I don't want to spoil you, and I am also not yet able to finish it because I'm afraid. I'm afraid because they said it's very, very sad. So if you have seen Grave of the Firefly, I hope you could comment on our GC and tell us your opinion. So don't spoil anything. I don't spoil anything. Pero somehow tell us your feeling and emotion after watching Grave of the Firefly. And I'll give you recitation grade for that. Just in case you have seen it. If you have seen it, just give your emotion. What do you feel after watching it? And I'll count that as recitation. I just want to still live up to the hype because I know it's really a beautiful film, but I'm afraid. So, so afraid to watch it. I feel like I'm gonna cry a lot. And then when I learned about this being in tune with atomic bombing of Japan, as I was scrolling my timeline recently, I saw also another post that they said they realized the poster of Grave of the Firefly, when you increase its brightness, it's not actually firefly who's actually surrounding them, but actually a B-29 bombing plane, okay, in the sky. And then those are not fireflies, but rather the dropping of the bombs or numerous bombs from that certain plane. So it's just really, I feel like it's gonna be a dramatic film for me if I'll watch it. So I'm still gathering up emotion for me to finish it. Ayan, so yeah. Returning back to the date that I'm telling you, there's a reason why USA and the Allied force wanted Japan to sign it September 2 rather than August, wherein they surrendered. They surrendered August, eh. But they have it long overdue to the point that it reached September 2 because it is closer to the time where it began. So World War One started when Germany somehow invaded Czechoslovakia, and that somehow is the final straw for Britain, and they declared war on Germany on September 1, 1939. And then it ended when Japan surrendered on September 2, 1945. So it's actually 6 years and 1 day. So World War II lasted 6 years and 1 day. So here are the important dates that you must remember. So previously we talked about World War One, and World War One started July 28, 1914, when Serbia Austria-Hungary had this conflict regarding the death of Archduke Francis Ferdinand. And when that war was launched, Germany is quick to aid Austria-Hungary, and Serbia received help from Russia. Okay, and you know naman the story right after that. And then it ended November 11, 1918, when Germany finally surrendered, and the World War One was finalized with the Treaty of Versailles. So in the Treaty of Versailles, they divided Germany into partition. Okay, and then years later, World War Two happened. Okay, so in World War II, it started September 1, 1939, and ended September 2, 1945. The next lesson that we'll be having, this Cold War is not part of the long test. It would be more of in the quarter exam. So the Cold War will be discussing that. So you see, so many wars. But Cold War is different than this two. I'll explain to you soon why it's different. But yeah, that's our next agenda. And lastly, to fully summarize our lesson, let's talk about the aftermath or the result of World War II to humanity. So first, it is somehow described as the devastation or the most devastating war in history. So it affected most of the world. So far more country affected than World War One. And also the aftermath of World War Two is somehow the Holocaust or the genocide of the Jewish people. And as I keep on telling you, that one is a very hurtful part of history that even up until now, so many bad feelings are being brought up, okay, about the so much pain that the Jewish people experienced during that time. Okay, and then 70% of the industrial infrastructure was actually destroyed during that time. So economics really hit hard. Okay, because fighting here, fighting there, who would have worked during that time? No work, no industry, no economic activity because the nations are in battle. So Manila is the second most devastated city in World War II. The sad thing is that USA is highly involved in that. But the only catastrophic portion in USA that affected by World War II is Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, which is not even in their mainland. So they're untouched somehow with the effects of World War II. But Manila became like the battleground of Japan and USA. And Japan became affected only in the atomic bombing. But years before that, the land battles all happened outside their countries, and that counted Manila. It's just sad that our country became battleground. Okay. So also nationalism became a widespread phenomenon. So too much love and too much adoration to one's country, to the point that you want your country to be number one and better than others type of mentality. Okay. But also, the good effects of World War II is in terms of science and technology. So a lot of medicines were actually invented during World War II. Okay. And then, so is technology, the atomic bomb, and also other artillery technology that they invented. And even in commerce and trading was actually improved. Okay. And then two nations rose to power after World War II. And that is two of the victorious nation in Allied force, USA and the Soviet Union. So since they became really, really powerful and really, really somehow known during that time, they became like the one and two, top one and two countries. And that will soon result to the Cold War. So that's our next topic. So USA versus Soviet Union in the Cold War. Okay, so yeah, that's that for this video. I want you to prepare for your long test on Wednesday, and I hope that you are gonna get a very high grade on that long test. So that's that for me. And by the way, the lesson, I mean the first part of today's lesson, I actually just realized I failed to record it. So you will not actually see the first part of today's lesson and on video because it's not recorded. Only the second part and this part, which is the third part. So I apologize to that. But I just hope if you are still confused with some of those information, you could always read the book and explore in YouTube or other educational platforms. Okay, so that's that for me. Bye.